Melbourne Storm v the Penny Panthers, Sunday 6th of October, 7:30. Panthers, 5th straight grand final for a historic four-peat, potentially. Storm, the last team to beat the Panthers in a grand final. Melbourne's 5th grand final in the last 9 years, and I think it's Bellamy's 10th grand final or 11th?
10th.
10th.
Yep.
Holy heckers. Of the last 8 grand finals, Melbourne and Panthers have featured in 7 of them. Only 2019 Roosters Raiders, the one did not feature. One of these teams did not feature. Storm team lists. Pappenhausen at fullback. Warbrick and Coates on the wing. Howarth and Meaney in the centres. Munster at 6. 7 is Hughes. 8 is Kamikamica. 9 is Grant, and he will captain the Storm. 10 is Josh King. 11 is Sean Bloor. What an incredible journey for him. Eli Katoa, another guy, incredible journey. Trent Lioro at 13. 14 is Wishart. 15 is Welsh. 16, Lazarus Velapu will become the most inexperienced grand final player in the NRL era. 6 games to his name. Then you've got Alec McDonald and Grant Anderson at 18. For Panthers, it's Edwards, Taruva, Tungo, Alamotti, To'o, Luai, Cleary will captain them. Leota, Kenny, James Fisher-Harris, Garner, Martin and Yo. Schneider at 14. I'd argue that's insurance for Cleary. 15, it's Lindsay Smith. 16, it's Liam Henry. Eisenhuth at 17. And young gun outside back Casey McLean at 18. Both teams choosing an outside back as 18th man. Smithy, love to get your thoughts, mate.
Oh, what a game it is, really. Like, it's just... And like, let's get this out the way. I'm a Melbourne Storm man. I'd love to see my boys get up, but this is... Mate, I dropped the kids off at school this morning, right, in the car, and I'm just chatting away, and I said, I don't have a feeling either way at the moment of where this game's going to go. So that, hopefully, you know, from a spectator's point of view, that means, like, we're going to have a nail-biter. Usually I'll have this one feeling like, oh, look, this team's bringing this form into it, and, you know, the lead-up matches suggest this, and it's making me feel this certain way, but I just think they're so evenly matched, it's not funny. So I can't see, at this stage of the week, like we're still only Wednesday, we've still got a fair few days to go, but, you know, if I look at one thing, I say, well, the challenge is a little bit greater now, right, with Nelson being suspended for Melbourne. All right, that's what I say. Not saying it's now they can't win it. I'm saying the challenge for them to get over this Penrith side now is just a little bit harder without Nelson, because we all know what he brings.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Him playing on the weekend, right? He is the biggest player on the park by a country mile.
Yeah.
A country mile. Now, I know he's getting replaced by Lazarus Valepu, who's 125 kilos. He is a giant of a man.
Yeah.
Trust me. I seen him in the warm-up last week when I was out in the middle of the field. I was about 20 metres away from the forward pack when they were warming up, mate. He is a massive, massive man. Not as tall as Nelson, but, mate, he is the size of his legs.
Thick.
They look like the size of my body. I'm telling you, Kempy.
Oh, wow.
If I stood behind, like, it would look like I was one of his legs, one of his quads, my entire body. He is a giant of a man, but he doesn't carry the same experience. Well, let's talk about that for a second, right? Nelson Asofa-Solomota has played 23 finals matches.
Wow.
Like, you don't realise that, hey?
Yeah.
And I get this feeling like, you know, particularly the guys that represent teams outside of Australia or don't play State of Origin, you sort of forget about how experienced they are. He's played 23 finals matches.
That's crazy.
He's the second most experienced Melbourne Storm player behind Cam Munster. Cam Munster's played 25 finals games.
Yeah.
So, mate, that's a bit of a dint in your team when you're taking that much experience away from this match.
Yeah.
23 finals matches, mate.
Wow.
Okay, counts for something. So the challenge is a little bit greater for them, but I just look at this you know, the matchups of all the positions, like the wingers. That's an intriguing part of this match in itself. Like, Melbourne Storm have 2 tall timbers, like 6'3", 6'4", when we're talking about Warbrick and Coates. On the other side of the fence, Taruva and To'o, like, they're little fellas. They're tiny compared to Melbourne Storm's wingers. Like, they're 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
Yet they give Penrith so much from the backfield.
Oh,
Like out of their own end. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier in the show, like almost beginning of the show, I spoke about To'o. Like he's probably their best player in the prelim. With like these carries and the yardage and all that sort of stuff and taking pressure off their middle forwards to get back on side and have those hard carries out of their own end. You know, it's a very different makeup. Then you look at the halves. Goodness, like Hughes and Munster, Luai Cleary, the matchups are incredible. Like it's really hard to split them. So I'm not going to say who wins. I'm being completely honest at this stage. I want Melbourne to win. But at this point of the week, they are so evenly matched, it's not funny. And I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I really don't.
Oh, it's my famous last words, Smithy. My famous last words. I actually have a feeling for Storm. I actually have a feeling. I have to be honest. Like,
well, that makes me feel a bit better.
I have to be honest. Like, I'm just telling people how I feel. I just feel it might be Storm's moment.
Yep. Why is that, though?
As earlier in the show when I was talking about, I haven't watched the Penrith Panthers this year and gone, wow, that they're playing to their potential right now. Yep. And now that may be because you're in your 5th year heading to a grand final. How do you get up for a normal game of rugby league? Like when you in round 27 when you're playing the Titans, like how do you get up for that? And so I am very, very aware that the Storm could come out and just the Penrith could come out and absolutely blitz it. I am absolutely not sitting here saying that it's an easy win for the Storm and they're just going to towel them up. Yeah. It could be the complete opposite. Storm could go out. Panthers could go out and literally be like, mate, we're in our 5th grand final. We know exactly what to do in this situation. This is like us. This is another game to us, and we can completely dominate it. I just looking at the Melbourne Storm, and as I spoke about earlier in this conversation about if you were to graph the Storm's form at the year, it would be a very even line up to them peaking right now.
A gradual incline.
There wouldn't be a lot of up and downs outside of the Dragons' loss at Storm at home.
Yep.
It'd be inclined pretty evenly. Whereas you look at the Penrith Panthers year, and it would be a bit up and down, and obviously injuries, and I get all that, but I would never have looked at them and gone, outside of that first 20 minutes against the Roosters, where I was like, holy crap, that's the Panthers we know.
Yep.
And so that's where I just think that, Panthers may start really, really fast, but I do believe that the Storm may just have that form confidence to fall back on for that middle 60 minutes, or not 60 minutes, middle 50 minutes, just to go, we know how to get ourselves out of just a bit of a deficit or a bit of, we're confident in our form. Yeah. I think also it's still, I know like Nathan has come out and said, I am sweet. I've got nothing to worry about. But if you're carrying Schneider on the bench, that is because you do have something to worry about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If Cleary was 100% fit, there's no way you're carrying Schneider on the bench, in my opinion. I'm happy to be wrong.
What did Matty John say earlier? Like he reckons Ivan might be playing some mind games. Is that right? I think he made a comment on one of the shows. Was it yesterday or maybe earlier today that he thought that maybe Ivan was playing a few mind games, putting Schneider on the bench or naming him on the bench?
Well, he got me. He's got me hook, line, and sinker. If it's true, you got me hook, line, and sneaker, and I'll have to reassess and just say I was wrong. But if he is 14, I think there's no reason you put him there at 14 unless. Like it's not like Schneider's had a good year. If anything, his year hasn't been, respectfully, it hasn't been the best.
Well, what could this happen, right? Because Scotty Sorensen's been sort of thereabouts over the last couple of weeks. They've held him back. They said he was close for last week's game. Is that right? Against Sharkies? He's on an extended bench, right? Could they name him?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was reading a quote from Garner, who you could argue would be replaced by Sorensen.
Yeah.
And he said, basically in his quote is like, I'm looking forward to, I'm playing a grand final. How good? And if you were 50-50, would you say I'm playing a grand final?
No, this is what I'm saying, right? I'm saying Sorensen will come in for Schneider. And Nathan's like, he is actually sweet.
That's
so Ivan's playing some shadow games.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you because like Garner he's locked in. By Garner's comment, he's locked in. So that could be absolutely the case because if he was nearly there, ready to go last year, and that was actually, Matty said, mind games on the run home yesterday. As I said, I tell you what, you got me, Ivan. You got me good. But
I don't know if he'd do that though. I just don't know if he'd do that in a preparation for this week's game. Like how important it is. Like I don't know if you'd be messing around with
Stuff
that
like
type
that.
of stuff.
I think also, even if it is the case that Sorensen comes on at 14, I still don't think Cleary's 100% because he come off the field last week holding his shoulder. And that's not to suggest he won't get through the game.
No.
But there's just no way he's 100%. So there is that as well. I look, though, the thing that scares me, if you're looking from a Storm perspective, the thing that really scares me is blokes like Edwards and Yo that just are big game players. Like Yo has been, he's been my player of the year for the Penrith Panthers. I think he's been easily their best player. Edwards would be my second.
Yep.
And if I'm from a Storm perspective, I look at Trent Leoro, who is a bit of a rookie, and I look at Yo, and I go, okay, there's a bit of a difference there in big games, and who knows, Trent Leoro could come out and play really well. And with Pappenhausen, he's run a Clive, so we know he will play really well. However, if it's a grindy game, it probably suits Edwards more because he gets through a lot of runs and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Mate, the reason why they're so good, those two guys, like Edwards and Yo, is that they are relentless in the way they play the game. They are just at you all match with their running. Like very rarely, if ever, do you see them get the ball and they don't know what they're doing with it. There's always a plan. There's always intent in what they're doing. And they're just constantly at you, making you make defensive decisions. Like making decisions, right? Not only are you getting your body in front and trying to get them to the ground and all that sort of stuff, but by constantly having to make decisions in your mind, that's taxing in itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they are just constantly at you. And Isaiah Yo, like there's been comments made from Moisey Simmons during the week around his thoughts on where he sits as far as all-time forwards are concerned. But the reason that makes Yo so good is that he's got the ability to run the football himself. He's got the ability to play short with his other forwards, but also playing that link man for Cleary and Luai. He takes so much pressure off those guys.
Yeah.
He attracts multiple defenders around him to then release, time and space onto Luai and Cleary to do their thing. And if you give those two guys time and space, particularly Cleary, inevitably he's going to make the right decision 9 times out of 10. Like that little setup play that they had, where I think was it Alamotti scored, where they set up that. I think it was like a pass out the back to Cleary, and then he had a 2-man
flat ball
sort of option runner going through, and he hits Alamotti. Like that's like perfect play. They put them in sequences, right? Like if you get a chance in the lead up to this game, go back and try and watch some tries, but not just the play leading to a try, like the 2 and 3, maybe 4 tackles leading up to the Penrith tries this season. Like they have this sequence of where it might be, say, a middle forward hits it up. Isaiah Yo will then handle the ball, tip it onto someone. They then come back a different direction. Isaiah Yo will run forward with another forward, out the back to Cleary. Cleary will drop someone off back to the middle, and then they go back again, and they handle the ball, those 3 players, in consecutive tackles, and they just pick apart defensive lines.
Well, it's whenever they're on their line and Leota and Fisher Harris are on the field, they go Fish. Then Leota usually gets dropped off by Yo, as you just said.
Yep.
And Fish gets that first quick play of the ball.
Yep.
And then once those 2 big boys get the quick play of the ball, and it usually is because when Leota and Fish are on the field, that's when they score most of their points.
Yeah.
So it's as you literally just said, like that. It is a set system. They go Fish, Leota, Bomb, Yo, and then they go Cleary.
Yep.
I thought it was a masterstroke last week. So the first time the Panthers get down to the Sharkies' edge, they do exactly what you just said, and guess where they attack? Where Ramian would have been in the centres.
Yeah.
Like, so smart. Like, just going, okay, where's the one guy that hasn't played centre all year? Oh, it's Talakai. We're going to run our first line on him.
Yep.
And so that system is a scary product. However, the Storm are kind of similar, and they did. So I wrote in my notes last week against the Roosters, in the second half, I felt like the Storm were going a bit sideways. And I said, Storm were going too sideways. Literally, as I finished writing that note, they drop Howarth off, and then Grant, Pappenhausen, and Munster go to work, and the the fast play the ball speed is just on another level. Like it is just relentless.
Yep.
And so it's good. Oh man, I cannot wait. I cannot.
So
wait.
that's the threat, right? That's the threat for Penrith is that if they don't control the speed of play the ball this week, those 4 players will tear Penrith apart. Now it's going to take a lot more sort of patience than what they needed against the Roosters. Okay, Penrith's line isn't going to crack as easily as the Roosters did.
Yeah.
Now what they did was whether they previewed it or not, I'm pretty much 100% certain they would have. But that space around Keary and Crichton, they attacked that all night. They scored 4 tries through that area. Okay,
incredible.
But once they got that first little sniff of blood there, they just hammered that part of the field all night. Okay, now, as I said, they're not going to find space as easily as what they did last week compared to this week against Penrith because Penrith, as I said, they're a well-drilled side. And on top of being well-drilled, they are fit. They keep turning up. They just keep turning up. If there's space created, someone will be there to fill that space and make a tackle. Where they may try and attack possibly, and I wouldn't say it's their more potent side, particularly this season, will maybe left side around Cleary, and not because of the question marks around his shoulder, but they have been a little bit vulnerable around him this year defensively. And if you look back to last year's grand final, where did Broncos carve him up a little bit?
Yeah, Cleary and Tungle.
Yeah, and Ezra Mam, didn't he?
Yep.
He made some line breaks. He scored points through that area where they made those guys make decisions. So if you're thinking that edge for Melbourne, that's Cam Munster, and he can create all sorts of dramas.
Yeah.
All sorts of dramas for defensive lines out there. If he's on and he's on one of his good runs, he could create all sorts of dramas. So, look, there's no doubt. Look, they will have by now. Okay, both teams will have their game plans sorted. They'll understand exactly where they feel as though they can find out some weaknesses in the opposition defensive lines, and also too be well and truly on top of the way they need to play, and the style in which they feel can win them this premiership.